What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Sharpen the Public. As always, I'm your host, Deej, as we sit here preparing for our Week 10 rendition of Sharpen the Public. I'm here with Andy. Andy, it's a bit of a different time for us. We're recording here on Friday after the Thursday night games and, trying to get this out as quickly as possible, but it's a bit different. How you feeling? I know you had fun last night, right?
Yes, I did. I had a fun evening last night, but a bad Week 9. Really bad Week 9. That's my third in a row now. So if you were so riding hot with me, yeah. If you've been riding with me, I apologize because it's been a bloodbath out there. It's been an absolute bloodbath. I've got 4 wins in the last 3 weeks. 2 came last week, and 1 push, and I think 15 losses. So there's no light at the end of the tunnel, but I'm going to continue with the same process I've been doing. We ended up having a good season last year. This also happened last year to me. It was around this time, and then I turned it around second half of the season. So, and ultimately had a really good record. So we'll see what happens, but it's really tough right
now. Feels like December is your month. I remember after Christmas last year, you kind of hit a stride.
Yep. Every teaser was hitting. All the bets were hitting. I was on fire. I was doing awesome. It's really tough right now, and it sucks seeing it. But I'm not discouraged. I still put out 2 plays on Sunday evening, Monday morning for some of you, and I'll talk about those a little bit when we get there because there's a few games that I really like this week. But once again, it's not going to be an easy job turning it around because this slate is extremely difficult.
It's a very hard slate. I think it's a much better for a viewer as opposed to the last 2, but this is a very difficult spread-wise to pick. A lot of tough games. I'm excited to get into it, though. I've had a few good weeks here for myself, 8-5 again, another positive week on my end, and, we have a bit of a dichotomy here. The last couple of weeks we've gone back and forth, but Andy, I mean, at some point, even if people are fading you, you're giving out good picks, right? So it's fine. It doesn't matter.
Good is only this one perspective, I guess.
To some, yeah.
Yeah,
important to some. As Al Michaels would say, as the game finishes on the spread line. Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited to get into this Week 10 slate. It should be fun. Again, this is Sharpen the Public, the only sports betting podcast focused on leveraging public betting information so we can win more bets in the NFL. As always, we will go through all of the general betting trends and the total trends through Week 9 so we can get up to date and keep everyone in the loop with what's going on there. As always, I release my recap episode every Tuesday, and that is also out, so you can check that out if you want more detailed stats. And also last week's recap episode, we talked about the midpoint of this season versus the midpoint of last season and the major differences in the public betting trends and how the public's betting, and obviously they're doing well. Unders are still killing it, so there's a lot to talk about when we get through each of these games, but we will roll through the public betting trends per usual just so we can keep things rolling there. Andy, 9-5 ATS the public did last week. They continue to kill it, and that brings them totally to the season 72-58 ATS, a 55% win percentage. It's just crazy. It's insane, and I don't know if it's the best ever. I don't have the all historic data, but it's surprising a lot of people. And is it in the more bets that are coming into the market? Is Vegas getting worse at picking these spreads, or is it just the natural regression of how the NFL is happening in 2023 that we're seeing such a good public year?
I don't know if Vegas is necessarily getting worse at anything. I think that they just don't care about what the public's doing because they're making a lot of money off of the money in the sharps. So when you take a look at that and see that the money is not doing as hot as it did last year, or maybe as it did towards the end of last year, then I don't really think they care because at the end of the day, they're making more dollars than just going against the public.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And obviously, at the end of the day, Vegas cares about money. People that are taking bets or care about money. And that's a good point. So let's get into that. 69-61 ATS is the money percentage through 9 weeks this season. So it was started out negative. It's dropped or came up to 500. Now you're seeing it kind of take away from 500. And in Week 9, it went 8-6. So after having an 8-5 week the week previous, and then 4-9 the week previous. So a little bit better and better, I think, each week, and we'll see if that continues to happen that way. I think it will. I think based on what we saw last year, money and sharp differential will both improve in the second half of the year. There's just so much more information on the teams that we're watching.
Yeah, honestly, I have no clue because this has been such a weird year. But that's my was really all I have for that.
Fair enough. Sharp differential 64 and 66. We just hit that. Public on the totals, public on the over 28 and 45, public on the under 34 and 22. I mean, it's literally no question that unders are absolutely insane this year. What are we, 23 and 7 now in primetime unders, thanks to the game last night and the Panthers-Bears, absolute barn burner. But throughout the entire season, they're 83 and 52 are totals to the under. It's just absurd. And it feels good that we talked about that last year. I mean, since like our first episode of Sharpen the Public, we focused on how important unders are. And over the last 2 years, it's kind of incredible how much money they've made people if you back the unders.
For sure. We're a pro unders podcast, so it really aligns with our values here that the unders are hitting this season. Unfortunately, exactly. I feel like I'm not giving out enough unders. Even though I feel like I'm giving out a lot of unders, it's not enough. We need to do more.
More. I always feel weird when I give out my cards on Sunday. As you can always check out my plays on happyhoursports.net on Sunday mornings. I release them as early as I can, depending on the day. But I usually give out 6, 7, 8 plays a day, and then everything else is through Twitter. But I have like 2, 3, 4 totals, and they're usually all unders. And I feel weird about it sometimes, but these last couple of years, it's got more and more normal. And maybe unders will become the more interesting bet for people, but that is a lot to
doubt
ask.
it. I highly doubt it. Yeah. That's also why they're good. People love betting the over, and it's not going well for them.
Absolutely. I mean, you can look at the money percentage on the under, sharp differential on the under, 47 and 33, 63 and 38 for the sharp differential on the under. That's a 62% win percentage. Just specifically when you look at public betting data, and you see that there's a sharp differential, meaning more money than tickets on an under, it's 63 and 38. That's insane. Like, absurd. 62% win percentage just from pure public betting data, not any more advanced trends that we talk about here. Money percentage on the over, 19 and 32. That's upsetting because it looked like it was going to start out well to begin the year, and now it's doing what it did last year. And then sharp differential on the over, same thing, 13 and 16. So we're starting to settle into these trends now, and it's always good when you get into the year and we have this data now to back it. We can kind of say, hey, is it going to do differently or is it going to stay the same? So I think unders are just going to continue to kill it until you see the average Vegas total drop to 35, 36 points. I mean, we're getting there. We're almost at below 40.
Sorry, my jaw dropped when you said 35, 36 points. I thought we were talking about the Big Ten West here. Holy shit.
I mean, it's that crazy. Like, Vegas is dropping totals to what the average total this week was 41.8, and there were still 10 games that went under. That's insane. Out of 13 or 14? It's crazy.
Yeah, that is wild.
So we'll continue to monitor this as the weeks go on, and that's the important thing of what we do here at Sharpen the Public, is we take the public betting data that is accessible to everyone. We analyze it and also track it week to week, and we can kind of see how things are trending. Like, I think the public is not going to. They've surprised us obviously a lot this year, but I don't think they're going to bounce back and have another 9-5, 10-4 week. I think they're going to hit a peak and then kind of come back down, because there's got to be some sort of regression coming here. But that's my opinion, and maybe we'll see when we get into the games if I disagree or agree with the public. So,
yeah, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, moving on. I think that's enough of that. Let's get into this week's slate. Obviously, we saw the Bears beat the Panthers last night on Thursday night, but we'll start in Frankfurt, Germany again. We go to give them the best of our best, Andy. Colts at Patriots. Obviously not at Patriots, it's in Frankfurt, but Colts -2 with 51% of the best and 33% of the money. Obviously, Andy's a Colts fan. How do you feel about this one, Andy? I'm a little nervous, to continue backing this amazing Colts offense that's the only team to score 20-plus points in the NFL. I think it's got to turn around at some point.
Well, keep in mind, the defense is the one that carried the weight last week. You got 2 pick sixes on Bryce Young. Our defense ended up scoring more than our offense and the Panthers' offense. I have the Colts here. I gave the Colts out Sunday evening, Monday morning at -1.5. You can still get them at -1.5 on some books, but you'd have to pay for the juice a little bit. I think that the Patriots turnovers as well as their penalties are going to bite them in the ass in this one. When you go up against a defense that is an offense that is so run heavy like the Colts, you are not going it's going to open up a lot for Indy. And New England's stats against the pass, against the run are pretty middle of the league, which is surprising for how bad their record is. But it's truly because of their turnovers as well as all the penalties they get. And I think when you're in an unfamiliar place, it's going to brew more weird scenarios, in my opinion. So something like this I don't think them playing in Germany is going to help that at all. So I don't think that's going to solve their issues that they have turning the ball over and getting penalties against us. Also, they've let up, even though their defense is not is kind of middle of the road for against the pass, against the run. They're still letting up a ton of points. I mean, the Colts are letting up the most points in the league still, which is wild, but I don't think that Mac Jones, that offense, is going to be one that contributes to raising that average, I will say.
Yeah. This is a tough one because both of these teams, I think, are going in opposite directions that the final scores are not showing. I thought I loved the Patriots last week, and I thought there was a chance for them to really come out and win that game. And I think they were winning at halftime, and then they let up some points and were on a drive to win the game. And then Mac Jones throws an interception. That was batted, but there's a level of execution that the Patriots offense is not hitting. And will Belichick be able to take advantage of the inefficiencies of Gardner Minshew? Probably, but can I back Mac Jones the way he's looked recently? I don't think so. I lean Patriots. Favorites in European games, I think, it's 25-10 in stadiums that are not Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So 25-10 ATS, that is. I think it's better to back the better team abroad. Yeah, it is a good trend. Better to back a better team abroad, and the Colts are the better team. However, I think there's going to be some sort of regression coming with the Colts offense. The Colts defense is not great. The Panthers out-yarded the Colts in that game last week. They should have won had there been not 2 picks, I think. Obviously, the final scores looked a little different. Jim, should have won is a bit of a stretch.
Jim, no, they should not have won at all. That offense looked horrible the whole game.
I know, but the 2 pick sixes. I know, but the 2 pick sixes were massive to the whole game script, and I think without those, it's a very different game. Obviously,
yeah,
put it bluntly.
But our offense also would have seen the field more if the Panthers' offense wasn't on the field the entire time because we got 2 pick sixes and we got another pick.
I know it. Yeah, I'm not trying to say that it is what it is. I'm just saying the Colts that beat the Panthers by 2 touchdowns is not the Colts that is coming into this game. I think they're worse than they are. But
yeah,
I don't think the Colts they proved me wrong. Yeah, they proved me wrong. I don't think the Colts that good either.
But I think that they're good enough and in decent form that they can get the job done on such a low spread against the Pats. I was thinking the total is way too high on this game.
43 is insane.
I don't think
43 is insane.
Yeah, especially it's a myth that the European games always go under. That's such a myth. But because of the teams here that we're looking at, I don't think even though the Colts are the only team in the league to get 20 points in every single game they played in, I don't think that means the total should be so high because I don't think the Patriots are going to hold up their end of the deal to push that total over. So I don't want to bet. So I know we say it's such a public thing to just back the over. I don't want to bet the under because I don't want to cheer for a lack of points when I wake up on Sunday morning. But I do really lean the under. If I'm being totally honest, everybody, I'm not going to do the under. But I really like it. I think the under I think that total's really high. People seem to agree with me too. We got 92% of the bets, 86% of the money on the under, which is not a bad thing. We've learned that's actually a good thing when everyone rides the under.
Yeah, it's insane how many people are betting the under for a morning game, when everyone wants to wake up and see points. But you're seeing a slight sharp differential towards the over, 6%. When it's low, the sharp differential towards the over is 8 and 11, below 10%. Or 8 and 9, sorry. So you're not really seeing any indication that I should bet the over because there's a sharp differential in the over. And that's kind of the power of the data that we track here. But moving on, I mean, I lean Pat, Andy leads Colts. We both like the under. Moving on. What a surprise. Niners at Jags. This is going to be a great game, I think. Niners coming off a bye. Jags coming off a bye. Jags 3-point home dogs. 41% of the bets and 73% of the money. This is going to be one of the better games of the day, obviously. It really depends on what version of Brock Purdy we get. Because if we get the Brock Purdy of the first 6 weeks, the Niners will blow the Jags out of the water. However, the Jags look like a team that is absolutely trending upwards. What are they, like 4-0, 5-0, 6-0 in their last, not 6-0. I think they were like 1-2. So maybe 5-0 in their last 5 or whatever it is. They're cooking. Looking really good. Yeah, they look really good. They're both coming off a bye, which is a good indication for the under. So I lean the under for that. But I don't know if I can get behind the Niners at -3 with the way that Purdy has looked. However, getting Trent Williams back is huge for the Niners. And I think if he's back and makes an impact, there's a lot of things that Brock Purdy can do as long as he's not concussed anymore and not throwing picks like he was against the Vikings. So I want to lean Jags. However, I need more time to see, how people are practicing and if Trent Williams is actually going to be suiting up. He's ready to, or at least it looks like he's going to be, but that's how I feel.
Kyle Shanahan is 3-4 ATS off of a bye. Doug Peterson is 1-4 ATS off of a bye. Both these teams are coming off the bye to play each other, and I really like the Jags. I don't think that the Niners have healed up enough to legitimately feel like they should be the favored team in this game. The game's in Jacksonville too, and the Jags are +3. The Jaguars are one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. And I feel like you and I have a pretty good gauge on that. We had 1 week where we thought they might regress, and they did not. Where I almost want to take the money line, but when you get 3 points like this, it's really nice. I'm looking at some of the other books. It seems like +3 is the best we can get. Because if it's +3 in the hook, holy shit, give me that. But
yeah, that's insane.
I will lock in +3 here, DJ, on the Jags as an official play. I think the offense has been cooking for them. The Jags have scored 13.7 points per game in the second half since week 5, which is the third best in the NFL. And the Niners are letting up a decent bit of points in the second half of games as well, where I feel like this is like maybe we see a first half undergo and then the second half goes and and a lot happens. I really like the matchups for the Jags too with some of these injuries for the Niners. And the Jags defensive line should be able to get to Brock Purdy and cause a lot more disruption just because of, I know like even if Trent Williams is healthy, he's not fully healthy, right? So some of these guys are going to be a bit banged up for the Niners. And everything is clicking for the Jags, man. Everything. It sucks to say it as a Colts fan, but I'm going to have to deal with this shit for the next 10 years or 15 with Trevor Lawrence. And now with CJ Stroud too. Give me Jags +3. Yeah, nah, fuck that. Give me the Jags +3 here. I really like this play, and I'm excited to watch this game too. It's going to be one of the best games in the 1 o'clock slate, if not the best game, to be honest with you.
No, this is going to be, I agree. I think the Jags is absolutely the way to go, especially with so many questions on the Niners here. It's either Jags or no bet. Like, you cannot back a road favorite with all these, with the way they've looked in the past couple of weeks. You can say, hey, the bye may get them right, and I would advise you to stay away if you do like lean that way. I'm honestly surprised to see the public on, maybe I'm not surprised to see the public on the Niners. I don't know if I said it, but 59% of the public is on the Niners, 27% of the money, when the Jags a massive sharp differential. I think that there's going to be a massive increase over the rest of the year for larger sharp differentials. Talking back to what we saw last year, they've been doing very poorly in comparison this year. So I think there's going to be some sort of turnaround. And we saw that happen on Thursday night. If you got 3.5 with the hook for the Bears or for the Panthers, they covered. And that was the large sharp differential side. I think it ended at 22%. So indicating positive things for our Geico and Golden Rule trends, hopefully. But I'm not going to end on that. And then the last thing I want to say about this Jags game. Yeah, exactly. Last thing I want to say about this Niners game is Purdy is 8-1 ATS at home, 2-5 ATS on the road. That's what I'll end it at.
That's juicy. I did not know that. That's really juicy.
Go Jags. Go Jags.
Go Jags, dude. Go Jags. You want to lock it in with me?
Then we'll see.
All right. That's one of the higher totals this week too, but we head into a game with a much lower total, 38.5 for the Titans and Bucks. The Titans have kind of teetered around this +1 range all week, where they are now +1.5 on some books, or +1 depending on where you get it. And you can also get the total at 39.5 in some spots too. But everyone's slamming the over in this game. And I don't know why. I don't know why. This game is going to be low scoring. I think Will Levis still needs to figure it out from a actual, like, I think he saw, don't get me wrong, I think he looks good, but they actually he needs to score more. Because like he had like 220 yards, no touchdowns last week. And I don't think it's going to be much easier doing that against the Bucks. I also think the Titans are stepping up a bit in form. They started to sell on some of their guys on defense, but they've been doing well, like kind of keeping low scores for their opponents lately. They're not getting blown out ever. I think too, like them naming Will Levis the starter says like, we're not going to mail it in. Why is she going to give this thing a go? But like they only let the Steelers score 16, allowed 23 to the Falcons, allowed 24 to the Ravens, allowed 23 to the Colts. Actually, that is kind of a lot of points. So I do lean the under here. What do you think about this game?
One of the uglier ones of the slate. I always want to say that I love Vrabel as a dog. However, I don't love him as a dog away. I do lean the Titans here because I think there is I think the Titans are trending upwards, and you see flashes with Will Levis. However, against a defense like the Steelers on such a short week, it's really tough for a rookie quarterback for him to go in there and score points against a team like that. Now you've got extended rest, and you've got a Bucs defense whose secondary is abysmal. I think they're getting Vita Vea back, which is big, but the Bucs secondary is not good. And DeAndre Hopkins is going to eat, because you saw in the first Will Levis game where he was able to find DeAndre Hopkins and utilize him the way he hasn't been utilized since it feels like he was at like the Texans, and he scored 2 or 3 touchdowns. So if we get that version of Will Levis and this Titans offense, and then Derrick Henry gets going, I think they're just the better team than the Bucs. However, I say that because I think the Bucs are also trending downward. Like I liked them at the beginning of the year, but it seems like teams are figuring them out, and they've got too many injuries. Their go-to is just throw the ball to Mike Evans and hope we can win games. Like Baker is getting eaten alive behind the Bucs offensive line. So
the Bucs been out on Baker for years now too. Like I'm surprised that it took this long. Like he was horrible on the Rams last year when he signed with them, and obviously he was so bad on the Panthers that they ended up cutting him. So I think it was a matter of time, but who knows? I mean, I said it at the beginning of the year too, like when they looked good, this is by far the best like arsenal of weapons that he's had for an offense with the Bucs. Like he has so many weapons at his disposal to throw the ball to. So I agree, they're trending down, they're not looking great, but at the same time, like if they're going to bounce back, this would be the game to do it, because the Titans are not very good.
Yeah, I agree, but I think there's a lot of more motivation from this Titans team than there is from the Bucs team. You know, you've got a new quarterback, new offense, really, and
they're definitely revitalized.
Yeah, I'd much rather back Vrabel, even though it's away, versus Todd Bowles, who is really not a great ATS coach. The Bucs have lost 4 straight games, and that's after a loss for Todd Bowles, he's 18-33 in the straight up, which is just abysmal. So the last thing I'll say is the Titans opened as favorites and are now dogs. And when teams open up as dogs and become favorites, we talked about it before, it's historically pretty bad. 45-84 ATS since 2019. So that begs us to back the Titans. And again, 52% of the bets on the Titans, 69% of the money, split public-wise, but a larger sharp differential towards the Titans. I lean Titans. I wouldn't say I love it. Maybe a teaser spot for me on Sunday for sure.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't mind a teaser on such a low total there. Got to get one in the hook, though. Got to get one in the hook if you're doing it.
Got it. Yeah, absolutely. Moving to one of the most exciting games of the day, I think. Browns +6.5 in Baltimore. Baltimore getting 55% of the bets, with the Browns getting 53% of the money. 8% sharp differential towards them. This is an awesome game. When I first saw the line, I immediately was like, oh my God, I love the Browns. AFC North divisional matchup. two great defenses. This is a team like this is vintage AFC North, back the dog. It's going to stay close. Lamar and Harbaugh, not great as favorites historically. There's a lot of trends that just say take the dog in this matchup, and I don't hate it. That was the way I leaned originally, but it's coming out, that the Ravens are as healthy as they've been all year. They continue to get players back on defense, which is amazing. That their defense has been so good, and the Deshaun Watson questions continue to plague the Browns. So I lean Ravens because of the 90 plus points to like 12 points they've allowed over the last 3 games against great offenses. Now you're giving them a mediocre offense with what you don't know you're going to get a quarterback, and obviously the Browns defense is great, but the Ravens put up 27 against them in week 2 or 3. So again, they've played each other once already. Back the dog in an AFC North divisional matchup, but I lean Ravens.
Yeah, I don't really have a pick on the side here. And I don't understand why Action Network says it opened at 6. It was at like 5.5 at 5 when I was looking at this Sunday evening. But I think the spread moving to 6.5, even though the bets and money are pretty split evenly here, says it all. Like this, it's such a weird one for me, and I don't think Vegas necessarily knows where to price this one either. And that's what makes me want to stay away. I'm surprised the total is so low. I guess it's a matter of the Browns offense, because I just don't think the Browns defense is as great as we are giving it credit for at times, where they have slipped up here in the last couple of weeks. So this will be a true test for them with the Ravens. However, since they're divisional rivals, could see them kind of knowing what's going on with Lamar, because I see him twice a year, where they could keep him low. So actually, I guess I do understand the total. I'm kind of walking through it. Yeah, I don't really have a play on this one. I want to stay away, but I will be watching this. This is one just like the Niners and Jags game that I'm super excited to watch, because there's a lot of playoff implications on the line. There's 2 spots up for grabs in the AFC, I would say, because the Bills are not for sure thing right now, in my opinion. They're not looking amazing.
I think they're even money to win, like to make a playoffs right now, which is just
insane.
Crazy for the Bills.
Yeah, I wanted to start the season. That was super expensive to bet on, and now it's even money. I'm gonna stay away from this one though, with how important this game is for the Browns for playoff implications, as well as for the Ravens. They're gonna be fighting for the number 1 seed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's massive on both. This is another one. This is one of the reasons like the spread, the slate of games is great, and it's tough, and it's gonna be an exciting week 10. And I don't have to worry about my Eagles. Eagles will have a bye, so I can just sit back and watch football. It's going to be great. But the one trend that I want to talk about here is Watson has faced the AFC North with Cleveland 5 times. He's 2-0 ATS at home, 0-3 ATS on the road. So obviously there's a lot of context there with him integrating himself back into football. But the way the Browns offense has looked, it doesn't look like it can keep up with the Ravens offense at all, even though their defenses are both good. So I lean Ravens, but we'll see. Well, if this line keeps moving, I mean, maybe I think Browns if it crosses 7, but I don't see it crossing 7. We'll see what happens. Okay, moving on to Texans plus 6.5 in Cincinnati. This is another juicy line. Great game. C.J. Stroud versus Joe Burrow. 71% of the bets on the Bengals, 36% of the money on Houston. Andy, how do you feel about this one?
This feels like a spot for the Texans where they might let some people down, because the Bengals are so hot right now, and the spread really reflects that. The total is super high too, which is interesting. I like the over. I kind of lean over here, just because people are saying that the Bengals defense is like firing on all cylinders right now. Yes, like they look good at times. I still just don't think overall it's like one of the best defenses in the league necessarily. I think their defense still leaves a lot to be desired, and we know what you're going to get with the Texans defense. There's some older guys, some newer guys. They're still figuring themselves out. Stroud has looked unbelievable. Like he has looked like he's been in the league for 10 years, like what he's doing. And Joe Burrow's figuring it out too, where he looks completely healthy again, where there's no really doubts about that calf that I was super scared about. I thought it was going to nag him all season, and here we are, the Bengals completely turning it around. I think every team in that division has a winning record too, which is wild. So yeah, I lean over here, and people aren't necessarily slamming it yet. It's only 53% of the bets and 64% of the money. if it gets egregious where people are ripping the over, then I'll probably stay away. But I do lean over here. What do you have?
Well, for the total, I don't hate it. I think there's got to be some sort of regression at some point towards overs, and this is a team with, like, the Texans obviously just let up 40 points to almost 40 points to Baker and the Bucs. There's obviously a lot of opportunity here for the total go over, and if it were to go over, it would be a shootout because CJ Stroud would just pick apart this hold Bengals defense, this young Bengals defense. I think I'm surprised to see a lot of the public on the Bengals here. I would expected a lot more of the public to be on the Texans with the way CJ Stroud looked at the end in last game. Like, it looked like so many people were just going to be like, "Oh my God, he's that guy!" Like 7 points, he's just keeping it close. However, the line really, like you said, the line really reflects the differences in these teams. Now, if the Bengals lose to the Bills, do you get a line that's closer to like 4.5? Probably, and then that's where the value is on the Bills. At 7, or I'm sorry, the Bengals, but at 7, I still lean Bengals here. I think this is just too tough a spot for the Texans to come in and keep it close against a red-hot Bengals team in Cincinnati. I think Zach Taylor is going to be able to find a way to stop CJ Stroud, and there's not historically, obviously, he hasn't been in the league forever, but there have been times where defenses have stopped, CJ Stroud, and the most recent was the Panthers. The Panthers, allowed them to score 17 points or whatever, 13 points, so
15
at home.
13. Panthers scored 13
at home,
15, I think.
At home, so there's a lot that needs to go right for the Texans in order to cover here. So I lean Bengals, especially if you can get the 6.5.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Saints at Vikings. Tough one here. Saints minus 2.5, road favorites going into Minnesota. 54% of the bets on them basically split. Money's also basically split, but a 7% sharp differential towards the Vikings. I think that's solely because it's a home dog. Now, you look at these two teams and what just happened, right? The Vikings, we'll start with, looked incredible. That was one of the most exciting games to watch as a pure football fan. Josh Dobbs comes in out of nowhere and wins the game on the last play, right? I think the issue with the Vikings here is how bad their defense is. Like, they allowed Taylor Heineke to put up 30-plus points in his first game with the Falcons. Yes, there are a lot of issues with Carr as a favorite and just putting up points in general, but I think he has looked better as he's integrated himself into this Saints offense over the course of the year. I think there's positive trends for that. I lean Saints. I think this is, despite them being a road favorite in Minnesota, I think this is a tough spot for the Vikings defense to shut down anything that the Saints do, because they have so many issues, as evidenced by what happened with the Falcons, and then the Saints defense being good enough to shut down whatever Josh Dobbs can do, because it looked like he didn't know off the plays, but it looked like he would just run to the right, hopefully scramble for a first down, and then make a play. And you would expect this decent to good Saints defense with Dennis Allen coaching them to figure that out within a week. So I think this is just a really tough spot for the Vikings, despite them being home dogs.
Yeah, I just don't trust the Saints whatsoever. I really don't. I think there's
I don't blame
frauds where that offense is just so boring, so slow. The defense is fine, but
I don't blame you. I really don't.
I agree. We don't have a big enough sample size to overreact or underreact on Josh Dobbs yet, where I'll be staying away from this one most likely. I do lean Vikings just because I'm on the Josh Dobbs hype train, but I'm not going to put my money on it.
Yeah, I think it's a really tough spot.
I agree. I'm hyped that he has these weapons with the Vikings at his disposal, though. I think that it's showing who Josh Dobbs can be, and that I was super pumped for him when he got the win last week. That was a really cool story. But
it was awesome.
No play for me.
If you are a Saints backer like me, do not look at any Derek Carr ATS trends, because they're all terrible, especially as a favorite. I'm not even going to read them off because it's abysmal. You can say
no. Give me one.
We'll hope for some regression. But I don't know if it'll happen. This as a favorite, Derek Carr, 18-35-2 ATS. worst of all quarterbacks in the last 20 years.
Nice. Nice.
Jesus.
I needed that.
Not ideal, but again, you hope for some regression. Squirrel finds his nut every once in a while, right? So I'll leave it at that. Moving on to a team I cannot read for the life of me. Packers plus 3.5 in Pittsburgh. 75% of the bets on the Steelers. 33% of the money on the Packers, giving them an 8% sharp differential. Oh, as much as I love to back the Steelers, I lean the Packers here. I think they looked really good last week in a game that I didn't want to touch against the Rams. Their offense is just like the Saints, where it's just like, I don't want to touch it. However, I don't know. The Steelers don't look like they're good enough to be favored by 3 at home, despite everyone wanting to back them at home. I think this is a classic public wants the home favorite because they've looked good, and then the Packers come out and keep it close, not even win. But if you get to 3.5, I think that's a good spot for them. But I don't know. It's more of a feeling than a breakdown here.
Yeah. Again, I mean, I said at the beginning, like, this slate is really difficult to navigate. We got a Super Bowl rematch here. I'm surprised everyone's on the Steelers. I am. How are the Packers been doing lately? Because I feel like I have this perception that they've been all right, but I really don't know, like, from like a ATS standpoint.
Let me tell you what that's a good point to let's look at how the public's backing both of these teams as well.
Yeah. So the Packers are 1-4 ATS in their last 5, getting their first win ATS against LA at home in their 20-3 win last week. But before that, they didn't cover the spread against Detroit, losing by 14 with a spread of 2.5. Didn't cover the spread against Las Vegas, had that spread of plus 1.5, lost by 4. Didn't cover at Denver, spread was 1.5, lost by 2. And then didn't cover versus Minnesota, October 29th, losing by 14, and the spread was plus 1. But then they won 20-3, which was the most points that they had scored. Tied for the most points they had scored in the last 6 games. So, like how the Colts scored 20 every game, the Packers really struggled to get there. I think Jordan Love has looked all right, but it kind of says it all. I think they went a little too heavy on the young wide receivers. They were super excited to actually get weapons they wanted to play instead of just signing Aaron Rodgers guys every year like they had to. And now the oldest receivers on their team are Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, which is insane. I think that's kind of biting them in the ass, where as they continue to get more chemistry with Jordan Love, it'll help. But God, it's not like the Steelers are really putting up insane numbers on offense either. So really like the under here, and it seems like everybody does. We have 67% of the bets and 98% of the money on under 39, which is wild. We'll see how that turns up on Sunday. What do you have for these guys in your spreadsheet?
Yeah, so the only interesting thing is when the money is not on the Packers, which is what we have right now, because all the money's on the Steelers. The Packers are 3-1 ATS, so, but that's all they really got. They're pretty much even across the board. The public is 2-2 back in the Steelers. The money is 4-1 back in the Steelers, so that's a good sign. And then sharp differential is 4-2 ATS back in the Steelers. So public betting trends back Steelers there, which is good if you back the Steelers. I probably will stay away from the spread. Honestly, I like the under as well. I like the under a lot. 67% of the bets and a massive sharp differential towards the under. I don't know why anyone in the world is betting overs. Like with the way the NFL is going right now, like why is anyone on any over, especially with the Steelers team with their defensive line versus this Packers team that does not look like they can put up points against anyone, even though they just did it against a bad Rams defense.
DJ and I both lean the under for Packers and Steelers. And to kick off our 4 o'clock slate, we have such a better game in the Falcons and Cardinals. Cardinals at plus 1.5, totals at 43.5. Not a lot I'm seeing from the money and bets here where it's notable to read off. But I mean, it seems like people are leaning the over as well as leaning with Cardinals. Kyler Murray is officially back. So we'll see. I think that number's already baked in. I don't think that which is crazy. I don't think he's going to move the number. I don't have anything on this one. I think Taylor Heineke's a bum, and people really give him a lot of credit. And the Falcons are putting themselves in no man's land by continuing to really try. I don't blame them, though, because there are two, or in the NFC, there's 2 spots. I think in the AFC, there's more. If we think the Bills are going to make it, there's only one in the AFC, but there's at least 2 spots for the taking in the NFC playoff picture. So, I don't blame the Falcons for going for it, but I also feel like they're putting themselves in no man's land because they're not going to get a quarterback, because all the quarterbacks are going to go so early in this draft. And there's a ton of good ones. So maybe they will luck out a little bit. We'll see. What do you have here?
I mean, this is just why are these teams playing? Just give them both the tie and let them figure it out. This is just...
I hate this game.
It's terrible. Falcons as road favorites. It does not make sense against anyone. It should just be a pick 'em. But that's why I lean Cardinals, just purely because of the number. I don't see the Falcons being favored against anyone, albeit away. And with Kyler coming back, there's an unknown factor with the Cardinals. I thought with Josh Dobbs, they looked decent. They were putting up points. Their defense didn't look terrible. Obviously, Kyler doesn't play on defense, but they maybe have some motivation with him back to be like, hey, we have a team here. Next year we'll do something. So I think the only side to bet is the Cardinals. I don't know what anyone is doing back in the Falcons. They don't look good. Taylor Heineke does not excite me. They're not even playing Bijan Robinson. What the fuck are they doing with him?
Yeah, this team's dumb. I'm glad you're on my Falcons hate train, dude. I hate this team. I really do.
We were on it. I mean, I was with you. I was with you at the beginning of the year where we were both like, I don't see them winning this division, but everyone was like, Falcons are going to win the division.
Yeah, I don't see it. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
I finally got Kyle Pitts off my roster in Dynasty. That was hard to do.
Andrew took Kyle Pitts in the first round of a Dynasty draft, everyone.
2 years ago. Or no, I guess 1 year ago.
Terrible.
It's our second season. It's fine, dude.
Absurd.
I don't know. I got Josh Jacobs and Kelsey in the deal. I sent some other stuff as well. So I'm winning now. But I think with this game, what you need to do is just go to the next one, which is Lions and Chargers.
Lions-Chargers, Lions -3 in Los Angeles. 82% of the bets and 95% of the money on the Lions with a 13% sharp differential. That was a great transition. I loved it.
Thank you. That's what I'm here for. I don't know if you got the chance to read my early best bets, DJ, but Sunday evening, we locked in Lions -1. So Action Network, once again, lying. That did not open at 2.5. They were -1 on Sunday evening, and we got them there. So that was super cool. I knew this was going to move because everyone and their mother was going to slam the Lions, and rightfully so. I don't care that everybody's in the Lions. I like them at -3. I think the Chargers are ass. I really do. Just looking at this game, put everything aside. Just envisioning the future. Let's pretend we're sitting here Monday morning. Do you think the Chargers are going to sorry, hang on, let me pull this up. Do you think the Chargers are going to be 5-4 on Monday?
No.
They're not going to. They're not going to be. The Lions are going to win this game. This offense is awesome. The defense has enough the Lions defense has enough to cover the weapons for the Chargers, as well as the Chargers are missing Mike Williams, of course, who always gets hurt. And the Chargers defense, I think with them, the injuries plus how incompetent some of these guys are. I feel like every year I look at the Chargers when we do our previews and I'm like, oh my God, they have that guy. Oh my God, this defense looks awesome. And then they're fucking 4-4 here in November. This is always what happens with this team. And it makes me even more just like the Lions. The Lions are the team in the NFC that's going to give y'all a run for your money, as well as the Niners, and the Niners can shape up. So I've got them as my third best team in the NFC, and I think that the Chargers are just floundering right now, where they got to figure out what they're doing to head coach, man. There's no way that he lasts the whole season. I feel like they have to sack him at some point if they lose games. But who knows? The AFC is really not that good when you get outside of those top 5 teams. So maybe they just slowly but surely sneak their way in. I would bank on it.
Yeah, that's what we saw last year against the Jags. Yeah, or when they played the Jags.
Yeah. I went into a lot of detail on the numbers and stuff behind my play. I'm not really giving an actual real good analysis here. I'm fully aware that I'm not reading off any numbers, talking about any matchups. I gave all that in my article. So go to happyhoursports.net, check out my early best bets article. And I have tons of breakdown and analysis there on the matchup. But I've got a unit and a half on Lions -1.
Yeah, that's a great. I don't know why the line was set at -1. Yeah, the Lions are coming off a massive loss to the Ravens because they're coming off a bye, right? They didn't play last week.
They played one game since then, and then they came off and then they had their bye. So,
so they had the bye.
They're coming off tons of rest. Plus, the Chargers played Monday night. And I thought that if the Chargers end up getting upset in that game, I thought the spread was going to be even bigger. Where people were like, if the Chargers lost, I thought people were going to bet the Lions up even farther than -1. I was surprised it was that close.
Yeah. I'm with you. I like Lions, despite it being 82% of the public and 95% of the money. Yes, it's chalk, but that's what it is. Like the way the season's gone, the public has done well. Doesn't mean that it's going to be bad to back the public here. 82% of the bets. I think once or twice it's happened this year where we've seen teams with 80% plus of the bets cover, and one being the Dolphins where they had like 95% of the tickets for majority of the week against the Patriots. So there's a lot of positives just public betting wise for that. Moving to the game, like it's Jared Goff's return to LA, right? Obviously not his team against the Rams, but coming back to SoFi for Goff, somewhere where he's comfortable. This Lions offense is just going to murder this Chargers defense. They're getting David Montgomery back. They're getting healthier and healthier every week. And it's not like you're getting a Chargers team that is a home dog. There are going to be more Lions fans at this game than there will be Chargers fans. Yes, they have to travel.
That's what I was, yeah.
But it's
I'm glad you said that. If you didn't say that, I was going to say that. Like there's Lions fans everywhere.
Yeah, they're a massive fan base.
I think it's just because of their age, because there's not that many people in Detroit. But I think I'm glad you brought that up, because it is really going to be a Lions home game. It always is. The Chargers do not have a home field advantage at all. They get to sleep in their own bed, I guess, but that's it.
Right. That's part of it. But it's really tough to get. Maybe we see something crazy happen and the Chargers are like, oh, now they're the playoff team that we've always wanted them to be. But because the Lions defense is not the best of the best, but it's not like the Chargers defense is going to stop anyone. And with the Lions hungry to obviously win the division, but get a top seed in the NFC, they have to steamroll the Chargers here. This line should not be 3 points.
Totally agree. Yep, I'm with you.
Moving to a line that is very much correct. We have Giants 17.5 point dogs in Dallas with 87% of the bets on the Cowboys and 95% of the money on a 17.5 or 17 point favorite. That is absurd. Absolutely insane. No one backs Tommy DeVito, Andy.
This is a college football spread.
With the total sets. 17.5 point spread with a 39 total. It's college football.
Yeah, this is literally college football. I don't understand this at all. I cannot believe we're talking about professional football players and the spread is this large. Makes me want to take the Giants. I can't believe I'm saying it. It really does. I'm not going to.
I throw the Giants in a teaser. 24.5 or 23.5.
I would not advise doing that.
23, Andy, come on. 23.5 in a 38.5 point total game. Come on.
Dude, if they lose, they're going to lose by 30. Like, it's like, I don't think it's going to come down to the spread here. I don't think there's a number big enough they can make.
1,000 money line. Just bet the plus 1,000 money line.
By Vegas.
Yeah.
Just, you got free play laying around, just throw it on the money line.
This is an insane game. Do we even have to talk about it? Like, the Giants look absolutely abysmal with Tommy DeVito at quarterback. No plan on offense. Their defense is not amazing by any means. They got destroyed by a coachless Raiders team who was just motivated. So, the only spread I have is teams to lose by 20 points or more the previous week, facing a team who obviously did not. 84 and 55. So the trend's back the large dog. Like, it's the NFL. Trends are going to back this large dog here, but the way the Giants have looked, the Cowboys coming off a massive loss to the Eagles, they're hungry. Like, there's no chance the Cowboys lose. You could put $1 billion on it and you probably wouldn't even make any money, but that's what's going to happen.
I would recommend doing that. I also would not recommend teasing it, but yeah, I'm not surprised that the huge underdog has some decent trends to back them.
Right.
I'm definitely going to do it with my own personal money, just for entertainment purposes, I'm probably going to bet the Giants because we're never going to see a spread this big the rest of the season. We're probably not going to see a spread this big for the next 5 years in the NFL. So I might do it my own personal money. 17 and the hook. Come on, man. They're giving me the hook.
The last one this large or larger than this, Seahawks at Jags 2013. 19.5 point favorites were the Seahawks in
Holy
Jacksonville.
Shit.
They won 45-17. No.
Oh. Wow. They probably did the total.
That was Legion of Boom
too.
time. Yeah, Legion of Boom time with the Jags just being Jags at the point, back in the day.
Holy shit.
Crazy game. I mean, what is there to say other than just this is just do whatever the fuck you want in this game. Like, there's no reason to. In my spread pool, I will be taking Cowboys but like for fun, I'll take the Giants probably.
I'm taking Giants. Yeah, I'm not officially. I'm just taking it in my own personal.
Just for entertainment purposes.
You touched on the Seahawks. They are coming up in our next game where we've got Commanders versus Seahawks. This one's kind of in that dead zone that I was talking about with the game earlier, where it spreads anywhere from 5.5, 6.5, depending on where you're shopping. But everyone and their mother is on the Seahawks. 87% of the bets, 85% of the money, and everyone on the public side is taking the over at 44.5. 75% of the bets are on the over, but the money's pretty split at 53-47. So I don't have the guts to take the Seahawks because I don't think that Geno Smith has looked amazing this season. In fact, he's looked like his old self, unfortunately, because I really want him to do well. The Commanders, on the other hand, though, are so bad that I don't want to back them either. Why are we putting such shitty games in the 4 o'clock slate? Can we address that real quick? Like, we got Falcons and Cardinals.
It's the Seahawks. It's
we
in
got
Seattle.
Falcons and Cardinals. Yeah, I get true. I guess it's 1 o'clock for them.
What are they going to play at 10 a.m.?
They don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. It's a good point. They don't have a point. I mean, but like the night game shit. Where I talked about that last week.
Yeah, the primetime games this week are absurd. I don't know.
Really good opportunity.
We talked about it. Yeah, we talked about it last week how you could flex these games. The Jets Raiders at 8 p.m. It's absurd. It's absurd.
Yeah, it's an early bedtime, which is gonna be great.
But focusing back on the Seahawks here, the big thing, yes, we talked about Geno's inconsistencies last week, and that's why I loved the Ravens. This spot for the Seahawks, I think, is a must-win, and if you can get 5.5, that's great. Coming off that loss to the Seahawks or to the Ravens, they need to be motivated to stay in the playoff picture because that's how they're built, and they were in the playoffs last year. They still have a shot at making it. Obviously, they could even win the division if the Niners fall apart. There's a lot of they need to come out and win. Will they cover 6 points? I don't know. The Commanders have not looked great. I thought they were going to lose last week to the Patriots. They're due for a really bad showing, and Sam Howell's playing okay. Like in the Eagles games, he's looked really good. I wouldn't say he looked really good against the Patriots, but Belichick is also very good at getting, in the heads of younger quarterbacks, and maybe Pete Carroll can do the same. I think it's weird to see all of these games with the larger spreads and the favorites have the public backing. It's not weird. It's more of normal. But we're in a point where it's like, we can't fade that. Like the way it's been this entire season is the public's reading things well, and maybe the money's not. And that's why Vegas the lines aren't changing egregiously. The totals aren't changing egregiously. As long as they continue to get late money on the other side, they don't care. They're gonna push. If they push, they make money on the juice, and they're fine, right? So that point aside, I like Seahawks. I think this is a tough spot for Commanders to come in and across the country and beat a team that needs a W at home in one of the hardest stadiums to play. I'm curious to know how Sam Howell does across, traveling and stuff. But with the way that his offensive line has played this year, there's just no way for me to get behind the Commanders, although I might not be on the spread just because it does feel like a lot of points for an inconsistent Seahawks team.
I'm definitely not touching this game. Dreading having to pick up my spread pool, to be honest with you. I don't go one way or the other.
How are you doing in your spread pool, by the way?
I'm middle of the pack. I have won 1 week, though, where, like, when I was on my tear the first few weeks of the season, I think I won, like, week 4, week 5. So I made my money back and then some, at least. But I've been middle of the road since then. Really not that notable. Like, some good weeks, some bad. I think I did well last week, even though my bets were so bad. I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants. I'm more interested in, like, how my record does on the show, because it's been so fucking bad. And I feel really bad giving out that many losers in a row these last 3 weeks. But I do think think that's going to turn around. I'm not too worried about it turning around. I'm more worried that, like, when that's going to be. I know for sure I'm going to. I want it to happen now because I'm impatient. But 40, 38, and 2 on the season for happy hour. I've given out 80 plays. I guess 82 now that I've with my early best bets, and I'm only down 7 units. So some could not say the same if they've taken this many plays.
That's true. That's good. I'm proud of you. You know, there's a lot of room to be had, a regression to come, and I'm hopeful for you.
Sounds like my therapy session right now.
Positive things are coming. I asked because I think spread pools are really fun. I'm leading one and I'm in second in the other, so I'm feeling pretty good about them right now. And then, just from transparency, I'm 54, 44, and 3 on the year for all my happy hour plays. So doing pretty well.
That is really
Hopefully
solid.
We can keep it rolling. Yep. Hopefully we can keep it rolling.
Maybe if the platform continues to grow like it has from last year to this year, going into next year, we can look at doing like a happy hour spread pool with all of our listeners. I think that would be electric.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Whoever wants to do it.
They're so much fun. But anyway, we're off topic. We're off topic because we don't want to talk about this fucking two primetime games. Sunday night, Jets +1. It opened at where the Jets were the favorites and now they're the dogs. In Vegas, 75% of the bets on the Raiders, 68% of the money on the Raiders, giving the Jets a 7% sharp differential. I love the Jets here. There are so many people backing the Antonio Pierce. We just come off a massive win. You know, we're a new team, and they are. Don't get me wrong. However, the Jets defense is far better than the Giants defense, and the Raiders have not looked really good throughout the entire season against good defenses. Like you can look to the Bills game in week 2, and then where they just got completely outclassed when the Bills were healthy. So there's a lot to be had. Yes, Zach Wilson is very tough to bet on. I understand that. I think the Raiders have been horrible in the turnover margin this year, and it's losing them games. And I think this Jets defense is going to be able to create turnovers and create pressure, and whoever's starting at quarterback is going to have a very tough time winning this game Sunday night. And the under's probably going to happen. It's probably going to be like 15-14 or 15-11, some stupid scoregami game. But I think this is a very, very good spot for the Jets, especially that they started as favorites and are now dogs. Again, that we talked about that trend already today. That's a very good sign that, you know, the Jets are going to cover.
Yeah, I lean Jets here. I also really like the under. Primetime game unders have still been cooking, as well as everyone and their mother's betting the under, which is not a bad thing. We got to keep putting that narrative out. It's not a bad thing when everyone's on the under. It's actually a good thing. So let's all ride that under together. And let's hope that this game is as boring as we think it is, and we can all go to bed early on Sunday night. But I again, just shame on NBC for not flexing this. You have the ability to flex, and you did not.
Yeah,
and that's on you.
It's disgusting that they let this happen. Like, why? I understand why the Jets are so commonly in primetime, because they wanted Aaron Rodgers, they wanted all that, but like they wanted the Aaron Rodgers versus Devontae Adams type thing, and we're getting the complete opposite. Zach Wilson versus Devontae Adams, who had 1 catch last week. So I don't know. I don't know why they didn't do it, but it is what it is. We have to live with how they come. Moving to the second worst. I don't know. This is probably the best primetime game of the slate, if you even include the Colts Pats in Frankfurt.
Yeah, not saying a lot.
Broncos +7 or +7.5 in Buffalo. 62% of the bets on the Broncos, 82% of the money on the Broncos. No one wants to back the Bills, but this line seems really weird. 7.5. Why are the Bills getting 7.5 after the way they've looked over the last 4 games? What are they? 2-2 since they lost in Jacksonville. This is just
people agree with you. Everyone's on the Broncos.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm not sure where I feel. I lean Broncos, but come Monday night, I might be on the Bills here because this feels very fishy to me. I don't know. Like, why is the line? The Bills, the Broncos are trending up. Their offenses looked fine. Their defense is far better than it was at the beginning of the year. John Payton's definitely, improved the way that they've handled themselves. And the Bills have looked incredibly inconsistent. However, that is Josh Allen in his career. And if there's a time to step up, it's now when they're basically plus money to make the playoffs. He needs to make a difference. And this feels like one of those games, but the line set at 7.5. It just feels like they're begging me to bet the Broncos, and everyone's backing that, which I don't hate. Again, I lean the Broncos, but that's how I feel.
I think the total's a little high, to be honest with you. I don't think that the Broncos are going to threaten a ton of points here. We talked about primetime unders too. Everyone agrees with me because 91% of the bets, 92% of the money's on the under. So that'd probably be what I lean on this one, but I'll wait until Monday to see if I make that a play or not.
Yeah. And again, we talked about it at the beginning of the week, but I'm just going to run through it because I think the public is going to have a worse week. Again, bad even. And you see the public's now split on Colts Patriots, so we'll stick with that one. Public on the Niners -3, road favorite. Public on the Titans +1.5, which I like. Public on the Ravens -6.5, which I like. Public on the Bengals -6.5, which I also like. Jesus Christ. Public on the Saints, which I like. 53%, but that one's pretty split. Public on the Steelers, although I do like the Packers. Public on the Cardinals, which I like. Public on the Lions, which I like. Public on the Cowboys, I don't know. Public on the Seahawks. Public
Giants.
On the Raiders, which I don't like. Yeah, public on the Broncos. So, I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty public this week, but we'll see what happens on Monday, or Sunday. It definitely matters, the difference between Friday and Sunday, and we'll talk about that at the end of the year. That's something that we're definitely considering, is how impactful it is, the public tickets that are coming in the beginning of the week. You see 55% in the beginning of the week, then it switches to 65 on the other side by Sunday. Like, what is the difference in those? Is the public better in the beginning, or is it really the public? Is it the sharp bettors that are betting more often in the beginning of the week? So we'll have all those discussions at the end of the year. But it's been fun, Andy. This was a good slate.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting slate. I think all the tight spreads say that. The totals are a bit higher in some games, but overall still low. So we'll keep that in mind, and we'll continue to monitor how the unders do. I'm excited to see how the under does. I'm excited to watch these games, man. Sunday's going to be a lot of fun. Go Colts. It's going to be awesome watching them in Frankfurt. I've been to Frankfurt before. It was a really good time, so glad that my boys get to experience it too. And I hope that I hope that we beat the piss out of the Patriots. I hate that team. I hate everything about them. They're cheaters. They're scumbags. And we're gonna win. So welcome.
There you go.
Go Horse.
Yeah, we both get to you can watch your game in the morning, and then I won't have a game to watch, and then we can just sit back and watch football. It's gonna be great.
That's a nice feeling. That's like an underrated feeling that you don't have to stress at 1 or 4 o'clock about your team. I'm excited for that too. I'm glad you brought that up because I was not thinking about that. I honestly feel relieved now. I can just watch without having to. It's also just added stress when you have Red Zone on. You have like a couple games you want to watch, and then it's like, fuck, I have to have my game here and like pay attention to my team too. At least I felt that way about the Colts because they're not fun to watch. So
yeah, especially when we're doing this podcast and trying to like take notes and keep in mind like what's happening in every game, so we have information to talk about, and then also help win our own money. Right, so it's a battle, but it'll be a fun week. I'm excited for this Sunday. As always, this is Sharpen the Public. We talk about public betting trends and recap every game and preview every game for every week in the NFL. It's been fun, and we're continuing to do pretty well. So thanks for hanging out with us. As always, I'm Andy. I'm Deej. I can't believe I said that.
I'm Deej. This is Andy.
DJH Sports on Twitter. You can follow at Andy HHH Sports on Twitter. We have a website as well, happyhoursports.net. You can check that out as well. We've got plenty of information, bets, and all of the plays that we make on the article side of things, website side of things, whatever you want to call it. So check out those if you're watching on YouTube, and the links in the description now. But yeah.
be sure to just give us a like or a sub on YouTube. That goes a long way to help us out. We've got a ton of stuff on YouTube now with DJ putting videos out for this podcast, putting videos out for each NFL game, as well as we're doing the new and improved UFC podcast, Pilsners and Prelims, where Rick and I preview every single fight for every UFC card. And we have UFC 295 going down in Madison Square Garden this weekend. It's going to be awesome. No John Jones, which sucks. But honestly, the 2 title fights that we have are going to still be really good. So check that out. Give us a sub, a like, any comments and stuff. Like, I love having a little commentary and a little banter on there. So feel free, guys. We'd love to interact with y'all as much as we can. And yeah, got to give the YouTube plug there, man. I really think that we are putting out some solid content for people to indulge themselves in on YouTube.
Absolutely. Nothing quite like it. So yeah, thanks for everything at Happy Hour Sports, but we'll see you guys. I'll see you guys on Tuesday when we hopefully, cash in all our tickets.
Hell yeah. Yeah, you, probably not me, but we'll see.
Gotta stay positive. Manifest, Andy, manifest.
I only gave out one official play on the pod today, so we'll see.
I didn't give any.
Yeah, you didn't. We're kind of protecting ourselves here. I was tempted to do Giants, but I'm not going to.
That's bold. That's really bold. But anyway.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. The boys bet better with beer.